Have you ever noticed that the moment you try to love someone, it often feels forced, almost artificial? We grow up believing love is something we have to work on, something we must build like a skill. So we read books, we listen to talks, we make promises. We try to be more patient, more understanding, more kind. But deep down, if we're honest, something feels off. Why is that? Why is it that when we try to love, we often end up creating more distance instead of closeness? Jiddu Krishnamurti once said that love isn't something you can practice. And that's a shocking idea. Because in our culture, we're taught the exact opposite. We're told that relationships take work, that love must be nurtured, that you have to put in the effort. And yes, effort has its place. You need effort to build a house. You need effort to learn a language. But is love like building a house? Or is it something entirely different? Think about the last time you had a disagreement with someone you care about. Maybe it was your partner, maybe a friend. The tension builds, and then you remember the advice you read. Stay calm, don't raise your voice, try to listen. So you try to stay calm, you try to listen, you try to be loving. But inside, you're boiling. Your mind is screaming 1,000 judgments. And no matter how much you pretend, the other person can feel that something's not real. This is the problem with trying to love. The moment you try, you're already operating from a place where love is absent. You're admitting, without saying it, that right now, you don't love, and you're hoping effort will create it. But love isn't born out of effort. You can't manufacture it like a product. Effort may produce politeness, tolerance, or compromise, but not love, and people can feel the difference. Krishnamurti pointed out that the very act of trying is rooted in the self, what we want, what we hope to gain, how we want to be perceived. We're measuring ourselves. Am I being loving enough? Am I saying the right thing? The moment we measure, we compare, we strive. We're no longer simply present with the other person. We're stuck in our own head. And when we're in our head, we're not with them. We're with our image of them. And this is where division begins. Not political division, not cultural division, but the subtle, quiet separation between you and another person. You might be sitting right next to them. You might be holding their hand. But there's a wall. That wall is built from your effort to be something you're not in that moment. The more you try to be loving, the more you emphasize the fact that you are not loving naturally. It's like trying to be honest. If you have to force yourself to tell the truth, then truth is not your natural state. It's an act. And if it's an act, it can be turned on or off. Love, when it's real, isn't an act. It doesn't require rehearsal. It doesn't depend on conditions. It simply flows because there is no self-image, no agenda, no fear standing in the way. But here's the challenge. Most of us have been taught love as a transaction. We love because someone makes us feel good. We love because they love us back. We love because they fit into our life in a way we like. And when those conditions change, when they no longer make us feel good, or when they stop loving us, we say love has faded. But that's not love fading. That's attachment fading. That's pleasure fading. Real love, the kind Krishnamurti spoke of, doesn't fade because it's not dependent on the other person's behavior. It's not dependent on what they give you. It's there because you are fully attentive, fully aware, fully alive in the moment without needing anything from them. In that state, love isn't something you try to do. It's something that simply is. But to be in that state, something radical has to happen. You have to see the machinery of your own mind. You have to see how quickly it judges, how fast it labels, how instinctively it demands. You have to see your own possessiveness, your own fears, your own need for control. Not to fix them, not to fight them, just to see them, without any effort to change. Because the moment you try to change yourself, you've gone back into effort. And that's the paradox. Effort belongs to the world of achievement, but love belongs to the world of being. The two operate on completely different laws. Effort creates improvement, but it can never create love. Love emerges when effort stops, When you drop the image of yourself as a loving person and you simply meet the other human being without defense, without calculation, this isn't easy. In fact, it can feel impossible because our conditioning is so deep. We've been trained to perform love like a role in a play, to be romantic on Valentine's Day, to be supportive when our partner is sad, to say I love you at the right moments. And there's nothing wrong with these gestures. They can be beautiful. But if they're performed out of obligation or to maintain an image, they aren't love. They're a performance. The truth is, real love might not look like what we expect. It might be quiet. It might not always agree. It might challenge, but it will never divide. Because it doesn't come from trying to be something. It comes from the absence of trying. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I'm going to try to be more loving, pause. Notice what's happening in that moment. Notice that you are beginning from a place where love isn't naturally present. Ask yourself why. Look at the irritation, the impatience, the hurt that's there. Don't push it away. Don't dress it up with loving behavior. Just see it clearly. Because in the very act of seeing without judgment, the self that tries to love begins to dissolve. And when that self is gone, love doesn't have to be forced. It's simply there, whole and undivided. When you start to see this for yourself, not because I'm telling you, not because some book says it's true, but because you've watched it happen in your own relationships, something shifts. You realize that most of your efforts to be loving were actually efforts to protect yourself, to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, or to make sure the other person continues to like you. And when you see that, it's almost funny, because you notice how much of what we call love is really just fear in disguise. Krishnamurti often pointed out that fear and love cannot exist together. Fear always creates a barrier. And as long as there's a barrier, you can only relate to another person from across it. You can send them flowers, you can hug them, you can say all the right words, but the connection is never direct. It's like speaking through a wall, and you can feel it. They can feel it. When you stop trying, you start seeing. You see the person in front of you, not your idea of them, not your history with them, not the role they play in your life, but the living, breathing human being right there. And the moment you see, without the filter of your own wants and fears, love appears naturally, not as an emotion you control, but as a quality of being that needs no effort. This doesn't mean relationships become perfect. They won't. You'll still disagree. You'll still get annoyed. You'll still have moments where you feel distant. But those moments are no longer a problem to fix with effort. You simply notice them, the way you'd notice clouds passing through the sky. And in that noticing, they pass more quickly. You're no longer trapped in the endless project of trying to love. You're simply living. That's the strange beauty of it. The less you chase love, the more it's there. The more you let go of your desire to be a loving person, the more love flows without you even thinking about it. And when love flows without effort, there's no division, no me trying to love you. There's just the experience of being fully together in this moment, without walls. It's not a technique. It's not a skill. It's the natural state of a mind that's not busy protecting itself. And once you've tasted that, even for a moment, you know that no amount of effort can compare. So what does all this mean for your life right now? It means you can stop exhausting yourself trying to love according to some ideal. You can drop the checklist. You can stop comparing yourself to the image of the perfect partner or the perfect friend that social media, movies, or relationship books keep selling you. That's not to say you become careless or indifferent. It's the opposite. When you stop pretending, when you stop forcing, you actually become more attentive. Because you're no longer split between who you are and who you're trying to be. Krishnamurti's insight was simple, but it's one of the hardest for us to accept. Love is not something you create through discipline, effort, or intention. Love is what remains when all the noise in your head, the judgments, the fears, the self-image, quietly falls away. And it can only fall away when you see it clearly, without trying to push it away, or shape it into something prettier. The challenge is that we live in a world that constantly tells us to perform, to show our love, to prove it, to work harder at it. And yes, certain acts of care are important, showing up for people, listening to them, supporting them when they're down. But those acts are empty when they come from a place of obligation, or when they're done to maintain an image of yourself as loving. When they come from a quiet, open heart, they need no justification. This is why trying to love leads to division. The effort to love is always born from a sense of separation. Me here, you there, and a bridge I have to build through my willpower. But when there's no separation to begin with, there's no bridge to build. We're already together. And in that togetherness, love simply moves. So instead of asking, how can I love more? Try asking, what is getting in the way of love right now? Is it fear, resentment, the need to control, the need to be right? Whatever it is, just see it. Not with judgment, not with the goal of fixing it, but simply as it is. Because the moment you see it fully, without resistance, it begins to lose its grip. And what remains is space. Space for love to be. When you begin to live like this, relationships take on a different quality. They become less about managing, less about negotiating, and more about discovering. You're not trying to mold the other person into what you want. You're not trying to mold yourself into what they want. You're both free to be as you are. And strangely, that freedom deepens the connection. Because it's not based on conditions, it's based on truth. Of course, there will be people who misunderstand this. They might think you're being lazy or uncommitted because you're not trying in the way they expect. But that's fine. This kind of love isn't about meeting expectations. It's about being awake to the reality of the moment, whether it's peaceful, chaotic, joyful, or painful. It's about meeting each moment honestly, without hiding behind an effort to be something you're not. And in that honesty, something remarkable happens. The division dissolves. There's no longer a you over there and a me over here trying to bridge the gap. There's just the shared space of awareness, where love is not an action, not a duty, not a performance, but the most natural thing in the world. In the end, love isn't found by chasing it, working for it, or trying to be better at it. It's found when the mind is quiet enough to see the other person, and yourself, exactly as they are, without the filters, without the roles, without the walls. That's where love lives, and that's where division ends.